Good morning, students. Today we will study more about this process called as adaptation, which is a kind of response to a changing environment. Okay, adaptation is a kind of response adapted by any kind of organisms in order to cope up with the changing environment. Previously we have studied about two more types of responses of organisms to changing environment. They were migrate and suspend. Before that we have studied about how organisms cope up with the changing environment. Under that we have studied about two permanent type of responses, which is regulate and confirm. Now after that we started studying about some alternative responses which will remain for short duration. We have studied about migration and suspend state. Okay, and today's class we will study more about adaptation. Okay, under adaptation we have already started with the explanation how adaptation of animals happen in desert and how adaptation of plant happens in desert. Okay, so today's class we will have to see how organisms cope up with the changing environment in cold climate. Otherwise, how organisms survive in cold climate. For this, there is a rule known as Allen's rule. Okay, if you read the rule, mammals from colder climates generally have shorter ears and limbs to minimize heat loss. Okay, in my previous class I have explained you that very small organisms, when compared to their body volume, the body surface is more. Okay, their body surface is very large when compared to their body volume. This is the case, these animals, they tend to lose heat very fast from their body surface. Okay, that is the reason, if you see Allen's rule, it says that usually the organisms which live in colder climates, they have very short limbs. That means their limbs and ears will be shorter when compared to the organisms living in hotter climate. Okay, so why this change? Why do they have shorter ears and shorter limbs? If they have shorter ears and shorter limbs, it indicates their body surface area is less. When the body surface area is less, very slowly they lose weight from their body surface. Okay, mammals from colder climates generally have shorter ears and limbs to minimize heat loss. Here in this picture, this is Allen's rule. Okay, in this picture you can see two rabbits, two types of rabbits. This is one type of rabbit, generally it is known as black-tailed jackrabbit. This is the rabbit which lives in hot, dry climate. Okay, this is the rabbit living in hot, dry climate. If you look into their ears, the ears are very lengthy and the limbs are also very long. Okay, if you look into their limbs, forelimb and hind limb both are very long and they also have longer ears. However, the similar rabbits which are living in Arctic region, which refers to cold climate, if you look into their ears and limbs, they have a very short ears. Okay, they have a very short limb as well. They have very short ears and they have a very short limb. Okay, similar way, if you look into the fox, this is the fox, grey fox, which lives in hotter climate. Their ears, tail and limbs, they are very long. Okay, their ears, tail and the limbs, it is very long. Whereas if you see the fox living in Arctic region, they have very short ears, they have very short limbs, also their tail is very short. Okay, why they have shorter body parts? This is in order to decrease the body surface area. When the body surface area decreases, the heat loss is also decreased. The amount of heat that is lost from their body surface is also decreased. Okay, so that they can keep their body warm in the colder climate also. Hope this is clear to you. Now, this is one adaptation of animals living in cold climate. What is that adaptation? Generally, animals living in cold climate, their body parts are little shorter or smaller when compared to the organism belonging to the same species or same type living in a hotter climate. Okay, why so? Because if they have shorter body parts, then their body surface area decreases. When the body surface area decreases, very slowly they will lose heat from their body surface. If the body surface area is more, they tend to lose body heat very fast. Okay, this is one adaptation which can be represented with the help of, which can be explained with the help of Allen's rule. However, there is one more adaptation of animals living in colder climate. What is that? If you look into seals which live in polar aquatic seas, okay, this is the organism which is known as seal. Okay, they live in polar region, that too especially they live in sea. Okay, the seals, this is the organism known as seal, which live in polar aquatic seas. Okay, the seas which is present towards in the polar region. What is their modification? Definitely when we say polar sea, polar aquatic sea, that means the sea which is present in the polar region of our earth. Okay, now you all know that in the polar region the climate is very cold, right? The climate is very cold. So the seals which lives in this particular cold sea, they have a thick layer of fat called blubber below their skin. Okay, just below their skin, if you take a cross section of their skin, the skin of the seal which lives in polar oceans, okay, if you look into their skin, if you take a cross section of their skin, just below their uppermost surface of skin, which is epidermis, just below that, they will have a very thick layer of fat. Okay, just below their epidermis, which is the outermost surface of the skin, just below that, they will have a thick layer of fat. They will store fat just below their, in their skin, just below the outermost surface. That layer of fat is known as blubber. Okay, this layer will be present below their skin. Why this blubber or one layer of fat is present just below their skin? This blubber is a layer which is made up of fat. Okay, this layer acts as an insulator. Insulator is, it's just the mechanism used in your thermos or flask. Okay, flask is made up of insulators. That is the reason when you put hot water or cold water into the flask, it remains cold or hot respectively, like whichever water you are putting in the flask for a very long time. Similar way, just below their skin, the seals have a layer of fat called as blubber. Blubber acts as an insulator. That means it prevents the body heat of this particular seals so that they do not freeze in the colder sea. Okay, they live in very cold sea, so their body, like when the outer environment or the outer water is very cold, so in order to prevent the body from freezing, they have a layer of fat in their skin, just under their skin, known as blubber. Blubber acts as insulator. That means it prevents the body heat. It does not allow the body heat to escape from the body surface. So that is the reason. See here, they act as an insulator and reduces loss of body heat. It does not allow the body heat to escape from the body surface. This layer of fat called as blubber. Okay, seals of polar aquatic seas have a thick layer of fat called blubber below their skin that acts as insulator and reduces loss of body heat. This is seal. I have already showed the picture. If you look into their cross section, of their skin, this is the outermost layer of their skin. You all know it is known as epidermis. Just below epidermis, we will have one more layer of skin known as dermis. Okay, so just below their skin, if you see, there is a thick layer of fat from here till here. These are the two layers which is present in the outermost surface of skin. Okay, the layer which you can touch is known as epidermis. Just below epidermis, they have one more layer known as dermis. Just below this dermis, they have a fat. You can look into the size of this dermis and epidermis and dermis. They are very thin. Whereas if you look into the layer of fat, this blubber, it is so thick. Okay, so this whole layer known as blubber acts as insulator. Okay, it's a very, very thick layer present under their skin. So it does not allow the heat to escape from the body, from inside the body to the external environment. It prevents the body heat inside the body itself. So this is how this mechanism or this adaptation keeps the body of the seal hot or warm. Okay, so these are the two adaptations of animals living in cold climate. Apart from what we studied, regulate, confirm, suspend and migrate, there are certain adjustment also that animals will do. I have told you, when we talk about adjustment, it could be a physical, physiological or behavioral adjustment. This is a kind of physiological adjustment where they they have a separate layer of fat in order to prevent their body heat. Okay, so next topic is adaptation itself. Adaptation in high altitude. There are so many organisms living in very high altitude. What are their body adaptation in order to changing environment? Okay, now if you see, any person move to a high altitude, a person is moving to high altitude. When I say high altitude, it is more than 3,500 meter. Okay, above 3,500 meter, if a person is moving, then that person will develop something called as altitude sickness. Okay, if a person is going to a height of more than 3,500 meter, then the person will develop something known as altitude sickness. Altitude is height, right? Sickness that you develop when you go to a higher altitude region. When I say higher altitude, it should be more than 3,500 meter. Only then a person will develop altitude sickness. So, what is altitude sickness? Altitude sickness is associated with few symptoms. Okay, what are those symptoms which you develop when you go to a higher altitude region? Nausea. Nausea is vomiting. Fatigue. Fatigue is a kind of tiredness or restlessness. Heart palpitations. Heart palpitations means your heart starts beating more than the required level or more than the normal level. Why this happens? Why a person will develop altitude sickness? Why nausea, fatigue and heart palpitation is seen in this particular person moving to higher altitude? This is due to low atmospheric pressure of high altitudes. Okay, if you go to a region of higher and higher altitude, there is low atmospheric pressure in that particular region. So what happens when you go to a region of low atmospheric pressure, your body does not get sufficient oxygen to breathe. Okay, so how the body solve this problem? Our body has its own mechanism to solve this problem. When you go to higher altitude region, for some time definitely you will develop something called as altitude sickness. You will feel like vomiting, you will feel tired, your heart starts beating fast. Okay, however, your body gradually adjusts to that particular change. How your body will solve the problem? The body will compensate low oxygen availability by increasing RBC production. Okay, when you go to higher altitude region, your body will start producing more and more RBC. Why more and more RBC? When there is more and more RBC, the hemoglobin which is present inside the RBC also increases, right? So hemoglobin is a pigment which actually carries oxygen in your blood. It carries oxygen from your lungs to your body tissue. So how it carries blood to how it carries oxygen from lungs to your body tissue? We have already studied in first year class. The hemoglobin associates with oxygen and forms oxyhemoglobin, and in this form oxygen will be carried from the lungs to your body parts. You already know this concept. So when you go to higher altitude region, there is low atmospheric pressure, you get very low oxygen level. So in order to compensate this problem, your body will start producing more and more RBC. When there is more and more RBC, more and more hemoglobin will be present in the RBC. Okay, so when hemoglobin is a pigment present inside RBC, present in the RBC, right? So when more and more hemoglobin is produced, there is a lot of chance of this hemoglobin getting combined to all the available oxygen present in the atmosphere. Okay, and it will catch up with the oxygen. It will compensate the oxygen deficiency of your body. The body compensates low oxygen availability by increasing RBC production. The body compensates decreasing binding capacity of hemoglobin with oxygen by increasing rate of breathing. Also, when the body produces more and more RBC, that won't be sufficient. Your body has to increase the breathing rate. Okay, the breathing rate should be faster when compared to the normal breathing level. Okay, when the breathing level increases, more and more oxygen enters your body, and you already know there is more RBC production, so there is more hemoglobin. So when you increase the breathing rate also, this oxygen which is entering your body through inspiration will associate with the hemoglobin present in the RBC. Then it will do the further actions which is required by your body. Okay, so this is the adaptation of organisms in higher altitude. When you go to higher altitude, what happens? Your body produce, first adaptation is your body produce more and more RBC. Second adaptation is your breathing rate increases. Okay. So that's all about adaptation in high altitude. Then we will move on to adaptation in desert lizards. How the lizards living in deserts, they will cope up with the changing environment. Okay, they will respond to the changing environment through this process known as adaptation. All their adaptation is their behavioral adaptation. Okay, desert lizards are conformers, hence they cope up with stressful environment by behavioral adaptations. Conformers, as you all know, we have already discussed. Conformers are the organism which actually change their body. They change their body internal environment depending upon the external environment. They do not maintain a constant internal environment. Okay, so such organisms are known as conformers. Desert lizards. Okay, this is a desert lizard. They are also conformers. Okay, they are, as you all know, they are reptiles and they come under cold-blooded animals. So they can be easily become a conformer. That means they change their body environment depending upon the external environment. Okay. Now they cope up with a stressful environment by behavioral adaptation. That means they change their behavior. When we spoke about adaptation, we said adaptation could be physical, physiological or behavioral. Here this desert lizard, actually they respond to changes in the external environment by their behavioral means. What do? They bask in the sun and absorb heat when their body temperature drops below the comfort zone in winter. During winter season, when the temperature is too cold, what they do is they bask in the sun and absorb heat. They will just lie down and they will be exposed to sunlight in order to increase their body heat. Okay, they increase their body temperature when the temperature falls below the comfort zone. Comfort zone is, the temperature with which the desert lizard is comfort with. Then next adaptation is they move to shade when the ambient temperature starts increasing. Okay, when the surrounding temperature starts increasing, their behavior change. They move to shade. When there is cold, during winter, they will they'll just lie down in the sunlight and they take how much ever possible. Sunlight is being falling on this particular lizard. Whereas during summer, they do not want to take up so much sunlight, so they go to a shady place. Okay, they move to shade when the ambient temperature starts increasing. Ambient means surrounding. Some species burrowing into the soil to hide and escape from the above ground heat. When the ground heat is very much, then few desert lizards, they just they burrow into the soil. They will just dig the soil, they just go inside the soil and they will burrow themselves. Okay, some species burrowing into the soil to hide and escape from the above ground heat. This happens during summer. Okay, they go and bury themselves in the soil. So this is also a kind of adaptation. Adapted by desert lizards for the changing stressful environments, changing environment, or in order to cope up with the stressful environment. What happens? They bask in the sun and absorb heat when it is winter. During summer, they go to a shady place. When they cannot tolerate the temperature at all, they will go and they will bury themselves in the soil. Okay, some species burrowing into the soil. So this is all about adaptation in desert lizards. With this, we are completing how organism responds to changing environment topic. Okay, we have studied regulate, confirm, migrate, suspend, also adaptation. Migrate, suspend and adaptation are the temporary changes, where regulate and confirm are the permanent response of organisms to change in the environment. Now, the next concept we will be looking into is population attributes. Okay, population attributes, we will study about population attributes in detail. Before getting into what are the population attributes, we will study what is a population. We have already discussed what is a population. A group of individuals living in a well-defined geographical area share or compete for similar resources and potentially interbreed. So here I have given a picture of a population. Okay, here if you see, all are human beings in this particular picture, and they all are present in a particular geographical area. You can take an example of whichever city you are living in. Okay, so that becomes a geographical area. Now since we are in Mysore, let's take this geographical area as Mysore. Okay, and these are the people. I am repeating, these are only human beings. In Mysore, we will find so many different types of organisms, but since we are talking about population, we are talking only about one particular species. Here we are talking about Homo sapiens, which are nothing but human beings. Okay, this is a particular geographical area. Okay, now you see a group of individuals living in a well-defined geographical area. Okay, group of individuals. Okay, every organism is known as an individual. Every human being is an individual. So, many individuals living in one particular geographical area. So many human beings are living in one particular geographical area. What do? They share or compete for similar resources. Okay, what we do when so many animals, okay, let's take an example of a forest in which there are almost 10 lions. Okay, there are almost 10 lions living in a particular forest. That forest can be represented as a geographical area. Okay, so 10 lions living in that particular geographical area, all the 10 lions, they belong to one particular species. Okay, so all these 10 lions living in that particular forest is known as a population. Okay, when they are living together, what they do? They share. Okay, if they are catching hold of any particular prey, if they have imagine there are few deer present in that particular forest. Okay, along with these lions, there are deers also present in that particular forest. Okay, these 10 lions which will be present in this particular forest, they will either share that particular resource. That deer can be represented as a resource. Okay, they share those resources. That means they will decide, okay, I will take I will take this, or I will take half deer, we will kill it, I will take the half portion, you take the other half portion. That is sharing. Okay, also they can compete. One lion can say all the deers are mine. Okay, I am not going to share it. That becomes competition. So the other lion is also competing with this particular lion. So either they share the resource or they will compete. They will fight for the resource. Okay, they will plan and they will take the resource. They will share it properly. Otherwise, they will compete for the resource. Okay, so that is the feature of a population. And they potentially interbreed. These 10 lions, they will breed among them. They will carry out sexual reproduction and produce offsprings. That is known as interbreed. Interbreeding is nothing but, breeding is nothing but carrying sexual reproduction and producing offspring is known as breeding. These 10 lions, they have to find their partners, okay, among these 10 lions, because they are a population living in that particular geographical area. They will find their partners. They will carry out sexual reproduction. They will mate with each other. They will produce offsprings. This is the speciality of a population. Here we also, in human beings case also, if you see, we are individuals, many individuals living in one particular geographical area. We also share for resources. We also share the resources, or we will compete for the resource, and we potentially interbreed. That means organisms, individuals belonging to this particular population, they will mate with each other, they will interbreed, they will produce offsprings. Okay, so this is the speciality of a population. When I say interbreed, interbreeding is, mating between same species, organisms of same species. One population cannot, breed or mate the other population. Mating has to happen in between the organisms belonging to same species. A lion population cannot mate, the tiger population, or lion population cannot mate the deer population. The lion population has to mate among themselves. Okay, let's read it again. A group of individuals living in a well-defined geographical area share or compete for similar resources, and potentially they interbreed. Interbreed means they mate and produce offsprings. Now, there is a particular branch of ecology known as population ecology. Okay, population ecology is a special branch of ecology which links ecology to population genetics, also to evolution. Okay, population ecology means it's a branch of ecology which actually links ecology with the population genetics. That means genetics of this particular population, and also evolution. Evolution is the manner in which the organism evoluted. Okay, so this is all about what is population. Now let's look into population attributes. Attributes. What are attributes? Attributes are certain features or factors which are characteristics of a particular, particular group or a particular, a particular matter or a particular object. Okay, so that is known as attribute. Generally, if I have to say in a simple term, attribute means characteristics. Okay, it could be a characteristics of a particular person or a particular object. It could be anything. Here we are talking about population attributes. Then this refers to characteristics of a population. Okay, you know what is a population? Group of organisms living in a one particular geographical area. They belong to same species. They share the resources, or they compete for the resources, and finally they interbreed with each other and produce offspring. This is a population. Now there are certain characteristics which are specifically, which are specific for this particular population. There are certain characteristics which are specific for this particular population. They are known as population attributes or characteristics of a population. What characteristics can a population have? Now, these are the different characteristics of a population. So, they are known as population attributes. Characteristics of a population. Characteristics which are specific to a population. Now, first we will study about the first characteristic or a first population attribute is birth rate. How birth rate becomes the characteristic of a population? Now, you take one individual, any one particular individual and one particular population. That means group of individuals. You are taking one individual and group of individuals, which is known as a population. Now, if you consider only one particular individual, then birth rate is not the term that we will use for this particular person or individual. We will just say birth or death. This person has taken birth, this person is dead. Okay, so when you take only one particular individual, the term that we use is birth or death. Okay, however, when you take a population, we cannot use the term birth and death. Okay, we have to use the term birth rate, death rate, because population is group of many individuals. We cannot be using the term simple, we cannot use the simple term birth and death. When you talk about a population, we have to use the term birth rate and death rate, because there are so many individuals in this population. Whereas if you are taking only one particular individual, we can use the term birth and death. When you are taking a population, we have to use the term birth rate and death rate. That is the reason these terms are the special characteristics of a population. Understood? Why I told you, attributes means the characteristics which are specific to a population. So, birth rate and death rates are the term or the characters, especially, they are very specific for a population. This term cannot be used for a single individual. Imagine there is an individual, there is only one individual, and we cannot be using the term birth rate and death rate for that particular individual. We use this rate term when we have more individuals, that is in a population. Okay, so we can consider birth rate and death rate are the special terms or special characteristics which are specific only to a particular population. So that is the reason they are known as population attributes. I am sure you must be clear about this term known as population attributes, characteristics which are specific to a particular population. is population attribute. Now let's see what is a birth rate. Okay, birth rate means average number of young ones born in a period of time with reference to the members of the population. Okay, birth rate means, for example, now imagine in a pond there are 20 lotus plants. Okay, in a span of few months, okay, when we talk about birth rate, we have to talk about a time duration also. Okay, here mentioned born in a period of time. Okay, I will give you, like in a pond there are 20 lotus plants. I will give you a time frame of 6 months. In that these 20 plants, lotus plants present in that particular pond, these 20 plants are known as a population. Okay, so these 20 lotus plants present in a particular pond is known as a population. Now I will give you a time frame of 6 months. After 6 months, you have to tell me how many new plants are born in the same plant, in the same pond. Okay, in the duration of 6 months, we have to calculate how many new plants are born in that particular pond. Okay, now imagine after 6 months there are 4 new lotus plants are born in that particular pond. Then how do we calculate birth rate? We will write it as 4 divided by 20. Okay, that means 4 were born out of for the already existing 20. So that becomes the birth rate for that particular pond or for that particular geographical area. Average number of young ones, number of young ones become 4 by 20. Okay, 4 were born where 20 were already present. So that becomes 4 by 20. So average number of young ones born in a period of time, I have told you 6 months time, with reference to the members of the population. How many are already existing? With reference to, the members of the population which is already existing. So now already 20 were existing, 4 new plants were born. Okay, so if you calculate 4 by 20, the ratio that we get becomes the actual birth rate for that particular population. Okay, so death rate also, average number of deaths in a period of time with reference to the members of the population. Similar way, when we were talking about birth rate, let me explain. Okay, so let me explain it here. Birth rate means when you already have a particular members of the population, that is already we have 20 lotus plants in a particular pond. Okay, in a particular pond we already have 20 lotus plants. Average number of young ones born in a period of time. So when I give you 6 months time, after 6 months there are 4 new lotus plants in this particular pond. Then how do we calculate the birth rate? Birth rate will become 4 by 20. So that is 1 by 10. Okay, so this becomes 1 by 5, which is 0.2. So 0.2 is the actual birth rate of for lotus plants in this particular geographical area. Okay, similarly, if we have to calculate the death rate, okay, for the same pond, there were already 20 lotus plants. In the time period of 6 months, there were 2 lotus plants dead. Okay, so how do we calculate? 2 by 20. Okay, when we calculate 2 by 20, it becomes 1 by 10. So it becomes 0.1. Okay, so this becomes the death rate for that particular pond. For which population? For the population of lotus plants. Okay, so this is how we calculate birth rate and death rate. Okay, so the next population attribute is sex ratio. Sex ratio is nothing but number of females and males per 1000 individuals. Okay, number of females and males per 1000 individuals. For example, you're taking count of 1000 individuals. Let's take human beings itself. Out of 1000 individuals, if 600 are male and 400 are female, then that becomes your sex ratio. Okay, out of 1000, you just take a count of 1000 individuals, and out of 1000 individuals, you calculate how many are male and how many are female. So that becomes your sex ratio. So this sex ratio is also a attribute specially meant for population. If we are taking only in one individual, we can either say that individual is a male or female. We do not have to use the term sex ratio, isn't it? But sex ratio is the term which we use only when we are referring to a population. So this also becomes a population attribute. The last one is population density. Okay, population density. This can also be known as population size. Okay, what is the size of the population? Number of individuals of a species present per unit area at a given time. Okay, so how many individuals are present? When we talk about a population, it carries individuals belonging to same species. Okay, how many individuals of a particular species present in a particular area at a particular time? That becomes population density or population size. This is generally represented as N by A, capital N by capital A. Here N is number of individuals present in a particular area. So A represents area. So you go to an area, when we take census, we go to a particular area, we count the number of individuals present in that particular area for that particular year. That's how we take census, right? No, people go to a particular area and they will count the number of individuals, okay, for a particular duration, for a particular year. Census is done every year, right? Not every year, but we take the count of a particular year. For the year 2020, in this particular area, there were so many, individuals living. So that is referred as population density. Okay, number of individuals belonging to a particular species present per unit area at a given time. Okay, when we talk about time, it will be a particular year, how many individuals are present in a particular geographical area. So this is represented as capital N by capital A. N, number of individuals, how many individuals are present? A represents area. Okay, so these are the 4 population attributes. Now we will have to study about one more population attribute, that means attribute or a characteristic which is specific to this particular population. That is age distribution. Okay, what are the different population attributes we have already studied? Birth rate, death rate, sex ratio, population density. Apart from all these 4, we have one more population attribute which is age distribution. Okay, so what is age distribution? In a simple term, distributing people or dividing people depending upon their age group. Okay, we will classify or divide the organism, we divide a population depending upon the age group. Okay, so percentage of individuals of a given age or age group. Okay, how much percentage of individuals are present. Now, what percentage of individuals are present belonging to one particular age group? What percentage of individuals are present belonging to another age group? This is known as age distribution. Distributing the population in different steps depending upon the age group of the people in that particular population. So, percentage of individuals of a given age or age group. Okay, now age distribution commonly splits the population into three broad age groups. Okay, now this age distribution actually splits the whole population into three categories. Okay, with this age distribution we can distribute all the individuals belonging to a population into three categories. Which are they? Pre-reproductive. Okay, we have studied about different stages of a sexually reproducing organism. When we talk about when we studied reproduction in organisms chapter, there we have studied the different stages are pre-reproductive, reproductive, post-reproductive. We studied in terms of juvenile phase, reproductive phase and senescent phase. Here, since we are talking about ecology, we will use these three terms. Okay, in age distribution, we will distribute the whole population into three categories. Which are those categories? Pre-reproductive. That means children below the age of 15 years. All individuals in a population who come under 15 years of age, they are represented as pre-reproductive. Okay, so under 15 years old, we can represent that age group is known as pre-reproductive. That means they are not actively participating in the reproduction process. The next age group is reproductive. Okay, reproductive phase. Reproductive, in this we can include people of 15 to 64 years. Okay, 64, why we include people till 64 years? Because female, they generally lose their reproductive capacity by the age of 50 when the menopause happens in their body. That means their menstrual cycle stops, whereas male still be in their reproductive phase till the age of 64 years. That is the reason we broadly classify reproductive age group from 15 to 64 years. Okay, then the last age group is post-reproductive, 65 years and older. That means at this particular age, the person will not be reproductively active. In pre-reproductive and post-reproductive, the individuals will not be reproductively active. Only the individuals coming under 15 to 64 years age category, they will be actively reproducing. Okay, so this is age distribution. Distributing a population into different categories depending upon their age group. Okay, in order to explain this clearly, we can draw something known as age pyramid. Okay, age pyramid. Age pyramid is a pyramid where you will plot the age distribution. What you have studied in age distribution, the same thing you will plot in your age pyramid. Okay, it's a pyramid indicating age distribution. How age distribution is done? Okay, this age distribution and age pyramid will be done compulsorily in all the countries. Okay, so age pyramid, as you all know, when you plot the age distribution in the form of a pyramid, we call it as age pyramid. Now, age pyramid can be of three types: expanding, stable and declining. Okay, this is the expanding one. By looking into the picture, you can see this is the expanding age pyramid. This is a stable age pyramid. This is a declining age pyramid. All these different types of age pyramids we will study in the next class. Okay, thank you.